I'm sorry, what? Doctor Who Series 12 continues with Fugitive of the Judoon. Wow. The non-spoiler section on this one's gonna be shorter than normal. Because, dang. Okay. Where do we start? Okay, well, let's go broad. Overall, I liked it. I'm starting to feel comfortably like Orphan 55 was a fluke, because right now it stands out as anomalously bad, and that is comforting, first of all. Now, here's one thing that I will say, and I won't be the first one to note it, and definitely Stu Bagful, in his review of Spyfall, which if you haven't seen, you should. I'll link to it in the description. Noted how much old material from New Who that Chibnall is cribbing from. And, how much he's just sort of yanking plot lines, ideas, concepts that people liked before and kind of mashing them together. And that is also kind of going on here as well. And as much as I can identify that and say it's not particularly, super bold or original, I am enjoying it. And I think the feeling I have for Chibnall right now, Chibnall, some of what goes on here is kind of bold, and I'll get to it, but I feel like overall he is serving as a placeholder. He doesn't feel like he has an overall vision for the thing. But you know what? I think we kind of bashed on him for that for Series 11. This series, at least so far, I'm a bit more forgiving of that. In an ideal world, we would have a bold, visionary showrunner. But if we don't, a competent placeholder is not the worst thing in the world. There is such a thing as a journeyman creator. It's a term sometimes used derogatorily, but it's someone who comes in, does the work, gets the job done, and does decently at it. And there's plenty of movies and TV shows that I enjoy that effectively fall under that kind of heading. Not exceptional, but enjoyable. I don't want Doctor Who to stay in that mode, but I'm kind of okay with it, especially if it's going to be as fun as this is. So there's a number of really big spoiler things that I'm going to have to get into relatively quickly. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I'm getting a little bit more on board with how much the Doctor is withholding from the companions, because it is a different dynamic than we've had in a little bit. The Doctor has not tried to pull the mysterious I can't tell you things act with a companion, I would say I'm since Martha. So it's been a while. Okay, fair enough. And I'm rolling with it a bit more. I think maybe part of what threw me off about this sort of being the shtick, that she's being so withdrawn in terms of letting them have any idea what's going on, even a clue of what's going on with her, was that I think I got very used to Tennant being fairly open by the end, Smith being pretty much an open book with Amy, Capaldi never really holding back with Clara or with Bill. So I think just got used to that, to the Doctor being more open, and sort of rolling that back was throwing me off. I think I'm kind of starting to roll with it a bit better. I do still feel like the three companions is not benefiting the show. It's just kind of is what it is. They're there. Cool. Note, though, did it bug anyone else that the Doctor didn't seem to notice that her companions were missing? Like, all three of them. Like, she noticed Graham briefly, And there was a toss-away line that Ryan says, like, he's always trying to keep up. Then she never bothers again, and, like, she goes off on this whole thing and never clocks that Ryan and Yaz are missing. I'm not gonna go so far as to call that a fault or a plot hole in and of itself, but it's the kind of thing that, like, I kind of hope somebody brings that up. And I'm not sure I can count on that happening, because I'm still waiting for there to be consequences for Ryan blasting somebody into the past against the wishes of the Doctor from back in Rosa last series. So this show hasn't been great about paying off things that feel like there should be some fallout to that. But okay, yeah, I need to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, why are you watching me? Go do that. Come on back. And here we go. Let's start with the spoilery stuff. Let's start with Captain Jack's back, baby. Oh, it's one of those things I haven't been clamoring to have him back, but I think that's largely just because I didn't want to be disappointed when he kept not showing up over and over and over again. But it's one of those things like, oh, once you're back, I now remember why I missed you. Oh, God, just that smile. And it feels extra this time, because when I went to Terrificon last year, he was there, and I got to meet him, and he's just so wonderful and charming, and just to see that back on screen in Doctor Who again was awesome. Now, I wasn't completely caught off guard by this, because I had caught whiffs and rumors that he was going to be back this series and that it might be this episode. So while I wasn't surprised by that, I was grinning from ear to ear. And like the cheekiness, I love I love when he finds out that the Doctor's a woman now. His reaction is, "This I gotta see." I'm like, yes! Yes! That's the perfect reaction. And like, honestly, part of me was a little worried, because I don't think Chibnall's ever written for Jack before. So, you get nervous about a character coming back who was created and heavily used by other showrunners. Is he gonna come off as wrong and not quite lining up? Except that Chibnall was pretty involved in Torchwood. So I should have, except then again, I didn't like Jack Torchwood as much, because he was much more dour and sort of buried in his baggage, and he wasn't as fun. Doctor Who Jack is fun, which this is. So yeah. Oh, that feels good. Definitely digging the heck out of that. That having been said, we very much have two-story track going on, and never the twain shall meet, because we have the reintroduction of Jack as he keeps plucking the companions, trying to get the Doctor, and missing, and then we have the Doctor off on her own thing, and as I mentioned, failing to notice that the companions are missing. So, as much as I enjoyed Jack, it felt very detached, and I'm not sure there was a way around that, because he is clearly setting stuff up for things to continue on in the series. Now, let's deal with the other thing. Let's deal with Ruth. And I'm just going to have to call her Ruth, because I can't call them both the Doctor just for sake of clarity. First off, love the outfit. I really hope I see some people cosplaying that one when I get to Gallifrey 1. I dug that. Here's the thing. I'm not sure how original I would say the concept is, but honestly, this is the kind of thing that I've kind of wondered in the back of my mind for a long time if Doctor Who would ever be able to pull off. The closest we've ever come to the idea of meeting a supposedly or possibly future Doctor during the current Doctor's run that was teased as a possibility in The Next Doctor, that David Tennant special. But even that one, you clocked pretty early on that wasn't really what was happening and something else was going on. And the performance given by David Morrissey was a very overblown interpretation of the Doctor and never really felt viable as the real deal. Whereas Ruth, yeah, she's kind of got a mashup going of, I would say, a little bit of Whittaker, and I'm not just saying that because they're both women. Like, there are deliberate similarities between them, and beyond just them syncing up on their lines, but they both kind of got that stubborn pig-headedness going, that, somebody telling them this is a bad idea. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. So they both got that. So she feels like kind of almost a marriage of Whittaker and Capaldi, because she's much more, she's much grouchier, for one thing, which I kind of dug. Seeing the Doctor, or what might be the Doctor, we'll deal with the possibilities of what she is in a bit. This is not going to be heavy fan theory on my part, because it's not really my thing, but I'll talk through a few possibilities when we get a little bit further into it. But seeing the Doctor with the gun, that does throw me off. But again, it gets commented on by Whittaker's Doctor. So that's the kind of thing, like, okay, you can have it, but acknowledge that it's off. I think I like the design of Ruth's TARDIS better than Whittaker's. That's going to annoy me a little bit. So, the build-up to it was pretty cool. Because, we've got the fugitives from the Judoon, and we have the Judoon back, and actually pretty well handled. I was nervous about that because I felt like after that first appearance in Smith and Jones, that the show in subsequent appearances, they kind of lost the thread of them being mercenaries more than they are actually police. Because I'd seen the Sarah Jane adventure that had one Judoon, it was very much played for comedy, and I'd seen, them backing up the Shadow Proclamation, but if the Shadow Proclamation is supposed to be like all legit, why are they hiring out to the Judoon? Seemed weird. This felt much more in line. Like, they have rules that they follow, but it's so that they can complete their contract and get paid. So I like that we got the more mercenary sense to them. Also, props to the mask. The lip movements much better than they were for Smith and Jones back in the day. They've really nailed the mouth movements fitting the words that are said, especially in English. So props to the animatronic folks. They've really done some really impressive improvements on that mask and the movement on it. So absolute props to that. So the reveal, I did figure after Ruth busted the glass that I saw the thing. I'm like, okay, so we're dealing with the Time Lord thing. Figured that right off. Then the Doctor uncovered the TARDIS. I'm like, oh no. No. And then Ruth walks up and says, I'm the Doctor. I'm like, okay. Now, I kind of said, I've always kind of liked the idea of them introducing the future Doctor before they actually take over the role and figuring, well, that'll never happen. They'll never be able to pull that off. And I still don't think they will, because I don't think that's what we're actually dealing with. But I like that they are letting us think that might be what we're dealing with. I like that it's being leaned into, because like I said, closest we came to this sort of concept was The Next Doctor. And that didn't really go all in on the idea. This is. And I find it interesting. Again, though, it's worth pointing out, this is not the most original thing in the world for Doctor Who, because it is cribbing a lot of known elements. The Judoon are on Earth looking for a fugitive that looks human but isn't, scanning people. I mean, they are doing the same shtick they did in Smith and Jones. And, someone who doesn't realize that they're a Time Lord, it's utopia again. This sort of stuff happening, it is these little elements cribbed from better known stories, but they're kind of remixed. And they're put together in a way that, at least in the good parts of the series so far, in Spyfall and in this, and Nikola Tesla's Night of Terrors to a certain extent, they are mashed together in a way that they are complementing each other. Orphan 55, let's just not deal with that right now, please. But, because there is something to be said, because I'm sure the detractors will just say, oh, it's unoriginal, therefore it's no good. Like, no, you can have something unoriginal, but still have it be good because you're taking known ingredients and doing them in a slightly different way. And if you pick the right known ingredients, then, hey, let's have a good time. And I am having a good time with this. Now, let's talk possibilities here. Right now, I feel like the most likely possibility is that we're dealing with some sort of split timeline thing, which I think is going to factor into the Master as well, and would also possibly answer the question of where this Master falls in the Master's timeline, which I already did a video on. Because the question before was, is O before or after Missy? I think we may be looking at the possibility that O is parallel to Missy, the same way Ruth is parallel to the Doctor. I think that they are effectively the same incarnation, but somehow we got a split. So if you want a point of reference on that, think back to the Valyard. Because here's the thing that people always tend to forget about the Valyard. The Valyard was a possible iteration of the Doctor. So there is this thread that has been planted at various points that how the Doctor's going to regenerate, there are multiple possibilities of how that might happen. And if something went wrong somewhere along the line that basically caused two possibilities to happen, or if we're just dealing with parallel universes starting to collide, which I suppose is the other possibility, but that would still effectively be the same thing. We're dealing with the same incarnation, whatever followed on directly from Capaldi, but two different possibilities of how that played out and what that looks like. And I think that may be the same thing going on with the Master as with the Doctor. Assuming I'm right at all, which I'm probably not, but that's my first instinct in terms of how I think this is playing out. Now, where does it go from here? I don't know. It throws me off a little bit that they introduce a Cyberman thing, because I feel like we're juggling a lot already, because we've got the Master back, we've now got the Ruth Doctor thing, we've got the whole question of Gallifrey, is it destroyed? Is it not? Where does the Doctor fit in all this? We've got plenty of stuff to be picking up the trail, and plus the Timeless Child mystery box thing. I'm not sure that it's a good idea to plant another thread on top of that by dropping this lone Cyberman thing. I could go either way on that. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I worry that they're starting to interweave too many plot threads, a bit like they have too many companions. But overall, I had fun with this. And it's got me wondering, and like I said, I don't really do theory, like the idea that I just threw out in the course of this, that's about the most worked out thing I've got for this. But this is probably Chibnall's equivalent of going big and going bold, and I'm enjoying it. It's a remix of early ideas, but sometimes remixes work. And I did enjoy this for the most part. And my complaints are largely nitpicky. I do think that Chibnall is kind of playing a dangerous game, because what if people decide they like the Ruth Doctor better than Whittaker? That's always the kind of gamble with trying to pull the trigger on this style of storyline. So who the heck knows? But I want to see what's next. There's a lot of elements in play right now. Of course, it looks like we're setting up for the next episode to be rather detached from the stuff that's been going on, a bit like how Orphan 55 and Nikola Tesla, those were detached from things that were continuing on. Because while this has not been tied directly into the stuff with the Master, I feel like it's going to, because at least the topic came up. So here's what I'll say in terms of ongoing season arc. I'm actually kind of liking the handling of this a little bit better than modern era Doctor Who tends to do. Because when I complain about the mystery box style, that's usually when it's just a phrase or a word or some sort of signifier that we just see or hear over and over and over again, and we have no idea what it is until the finale happens. This, while it is going a couple episodes at a time, not giving us much of anything, you know, it is still giving us something every couple of episodes as opposed to just stringing us along and giving us nothing until the finale. It's like, no, okay, Spyfall, here's some initial nuggets, and then, you know, Orphan 55, Nikola Tesla, oh, here's some more. And we'll probably go 1 or 2 episodes without getting a ton of new info that ties into this for a little bit, but I could also be wrong about that. And I'm excited to see whether I am or not. Here's one thing I'll say about this series of Doctor Who. It has got me excited for new episodes again. And it doesn't have to be the best in the world to be able to do that. But it's doing something right, at least by me. I'm excited to see what's next. And I hope that it can build and continue to build in the direction that it's going, with remixing ideas, taking threads and notions that have been done before, but just weaving them together somewhat differently. Some people will say the show should be big and bold and be completely new. Not every showrunner can do that. That would be great. That would be preferred. But if we're not going to get that, I will take this, because I am enjoying it. Definitely enjoying it more than Series 11. So, there you go. Fugitive from the Judoon. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's the usual stuff to do. I have a Patreon. Of course I do. Plus, links to various social media. I've got an Instagram for Council of Geeks now. Other stuff. Blah, 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 blah. There's all that stuff that you can do, but you also don't have to do any of it. I'd appreciate it, but at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meeting, and until next time, this council is adjourned.